Perfect RIA, in case you didn't know. Bringing you all the strategies to help your business grow. Are you happy? Are you satisfied? Are you hanging on the edge of your seat? Sit back and listen in while you feel the beat, yeah. Another myth bites the dust.
Hello, TPR Nation. This is Amber Kuhn from the Perfect RIA. Welcome to another episode of Follow Up Friday, where we are covering the highlights and action items from this week's episodes. Monday's episode started off with Matt and Micah talking about never hiring family. However, if you're familiar with their offices, they both work with family. Both Matt and Micah think it's a bad idea to do this, and a lot of this comes down to because of the reason why someone is hiring family. Micah shared that the best thing about a family office is it's a family office. And the worst thing is that it's a family office. And that whenever there's a family issue, it can cause extra drama if you're working together. He added that whenever the question comes up about needing to hire a family member, Micah's response is, "When I fire this person, what will my mom's reaction be?" That usually solves the problem or question, so it's not an if, it's a when. The guy said that if you are going to hire a family member, you need to think about what the exit strategy is and put that in writing. And to be clear about this and bring someone else in to make those decisions so that you're not the one doing this. In addition to the exit strategy, Micah said you need to have a family communication plan. What are you going to tell the family about why you fired that family member? Matt and Micah also talked about if you're hiring family, and something that is important anytime you're bringing someone on is that you need to be clear on what success looks like. They talked about some of the issues that can come along with working with family. The family member may not see you in an authority position, or you may not have as much patience with the family. The guys added, don't hire family members who don't have experience. Let them get that experience somewhere else. And lastly, don't do with family what you wouldn't do with a stranger. So let's get into action items from Monday's episode. Be intentional about hiring. What's the job role and what are the goals? Have an exit strategy for everything that you do. Plan how it's going to end before it even starts. If you are going to hire a family member, you need to communicate with your spouse and other family members about it. Moving into our What Works Wednesday episode, Matt was joined by Lewis Diamond from Diamond Consultants. Lewis focuses on helping advisors who are looking to move firms. Matt said the biggest thing he hears from other advisors who are wanting to move is that fear and concern related to compliance. And Lewis said about 8 out of 10 of the advisors that he works with end up plugging into another platform or another RIA. But for those who don't, they end up saying the compliance part wasn't as big of a deal that they were thinking. Matt asked about plugging into a platform provider and if that's a great intermediate step. And Lewis said it is because this can really help with the launch. And then following that, you have strategic guidance. He said this is so helpful because the difficulty with moving is handling all of those steps involved in that launch. Another concern Matt mentioned was having to stay under the radar when looking to transition. And Lewis agreed and recommends keeping the transition under the radar. He said stealth is the name of the game. Matt and Lewis recommended that if you are interested in exploring transitioning, to use a personal email address. You definitely don't want to do this with your work email, and don't use a phone or computer provided to you by your firm. Lewis also discussed some common mistakes and recommendations. And the first was advisors trying to bite off more than they can chew, where they feel like they need to look at every single firm. He said you're doing yourself a disservice by not beginning with the end in mind. He also said another mistake is underestimating the amount of time for due diligence. He said if you're going to do this, do it right. And a recommendation he added was for those standalone RIAs who are one man bands looking for help, some options are merging their business, affiliating with an RIA or platform, or even selling. His parting thoughts were to not get too complacent. He said, even if you're an employee, you need to think of your business as a business and think about how to maximize your career enterprise value and how to always be doing the right thing for your clients. And don't let change happen to you. Moving into Thursday's recap and action items, we were back talking about hiring family members. And Jamie shared her experience and tips in the Shalansky office in her Worlds to Conquer episode. Jamie started off her episode by talking about how family oriented she is and the family dynamic at Shalansky and Associates, but stressed when it comes to hiring family members, you don't want square pegs and round holes. And this can frequently happen when there's a family member needing a job at the same time that the firm has an opening. But what if you do decide to hire a family member? Jamie shared her recommendation for how to handle this. She recommends drawing out the job description and lists what are the personality attributes that you're looking for. Don't be the direct supervisor for the family member. This allows you to put a third party in between you and the employee because a concern is that in the workplace, that family member may not see you as the boss. Make sure you're setting good expectations and creating benchmarks for them, including what they need to do to excel in the role and what gets them fired. Have that family member work somewhere else first. She said this is especially important with the kids in the family. And think about their compensation and how they can earn more if they're adding more value. She said you really need to think about what you're getting into with hiring family. It's not always a bad idea, but it could be. A good gauge is to think about if you would recommend that person to work with one of your peers. She ended with mentioning that a lot of advisors hire family members. You just need to make sure that you're setting them up for success. All right, let's go over a few more action items. Backstage Pass and Invictus members, jump into the forum and let us know your experience surrounding incentives and compensation. Also, Colleen and Victoria from Matt and Micah's offices will be hosting a member-only webinar this month on September 21st. Be sure to send your questions in for them and make sure that your team attends this session. XYPN Live is coming up next month, and it is your opportunity to see Matt and Micah live. Visit theperfectria.com to get signed up. And of course, for our last action item, please give us 5 stars wherever you are enjoying this podcast. And until next time, happy planning.
Hold on before we go. Something that you need to know. This isn't tax, legal, or investment advice. That isn't our intent. Information designed to change lives. Financial planning can make you thrive. Start today, don't think twice. Be a better husband, father, mother, and wife.